Hello, and welcome to the energy update for the month of April 2024. This is going to be an exciting, interesting month. So, my name is Anna, and I'm an intuitive. So, I use extrasensory perception to empower you as the creator of your reality. The purpose of these energy updates is to tap into the energies and the influences of the month in order to help you attain more freedom, more connection, more autonomy as the creator of your reality, to help you better navigate these energies in order for you to create a dream life, a life that resonates with you deeply. So let's get into it. So there are, really 5 big themes. The first one is this big question: who am I? Who am I in the 3D world? Number 2 is who am I in the spiritual dimension? These are big questions. Theme number 3 is about a healing of collective masculine wounds. And it touches on this idea of seeing God as the protective father. Number 4 is you as the creator. Number 5 is you, the alchemist. And there was a number 6, but number 6 is more of a practical exercise. So every theme kind of builds on top of one another. So let's get into it. I'm excited. So this big question, who am I? This is probably my favorite and my least favorite question. It's my favorite because I think it's essential for everyone to ask themselves this. Not just once, but constantly. And it's also my least favorite because, of course, it can be really tough and challenging. And sometimes it can feel lonely. So let's talk what this is going to bring up, because as I said, this question of who am I first is going to kind of hit you in the 3D, in the physical dimension. Like, who am I based on my identity? You're going to really start to see things in yourself, maybe patterns of thinking, patterns of behavior. And you're going to ask yourself, is this how I would like to behave, or is this a pattern that I've learned from observing my parents, or from observing other people in my culture? So is this how I would like to behave, or is it something I've learned? When you start to ask yourself and see these things about yourself, you start to attain a certain degree of freedom, a certain degree of autonomy. Because if you have the freedom, you can see through them and you can make the decision, right? You have the autonomy to act and behave differently. Patterns of thinking, or patterns of seeing the world. You know, is this the way that I approach work, or is this the way that I've seen my parents approach work? You know, is this attitude of hustling something that I want to have, or is this something that I've seen and is just something that I unconsciously adopt? So this is what I mean by you asking yourself, who am I in the physical dimension? You will start to also ask yourself, is this my desire, or is this a desire that I've picked up from the society and the culture that I live in? is this what I really want? Is this mine? Or is it just something I've picked up on? And so you're going to be like Neo in the Matrix, where he sees through the patterns and the information that makes up the matrix, that makes up reality. So you're going to see that inside yourself, the patterns inside yourself that you have from your family and from the community at large. What is really important through all of this is to nurture a sense of love, of self love, because going through and seeing all these patterns is not easy. Awareness, becoming aware of these things without self love, without love, can actually be more detrimental than just being unconscious to them. So when you start to see through, you need to have a lot of compassion, a lot of patience, a lot of love towards yourself and towards your family and your community. So, really nurturing this sense of love within yourself and loving yourself, whether you are like someone or different from someone, is really going to help you in this time. And when you can create the sense of love within yourself, you can also pass it on to others through also through vibration, but also when you interact with them. So even without interacting, just by simply creating that pattern, that energy within yourself, it will affect others. It's going to create like a ripple effect. So while going through these things that make us question who we are, please keep in mind this idea of self-love. Please be kind to yourself. We offer others our attention, our love, our care, much more than we offer to ourselves. But now is really the time to offer that to yourself. So please keep this in mind because it's very, very important. So now we're going to talk about theme number 2, which is very connected to this first part. It's about who am I in the spiritual dimension. So this is really about you really starting to see who you are truly, but also it's about seeing through the nature of reality. Personally, I have been going through this the last few days, and I'm also reading this book, um, not coincidentally, of course, from Deepak Chopra, and he starts to talk about the nature of reality. And you know how sometimes you learn a truth but then you forget it, and then it comes back, and then you forget it but then it comes back, and it really like hits you. That's how I felt. So reading this book has kind of it has had a lot of aha moments for me. So he was talking about how different animals have different nervous systems that are faster or slower. And he was talking about snails and how snails perceive things at a much slower rate than we do. So if you were to put an apple in front of a snail and quickly snatch it away, the snail won't be able to perceive your hand. It will just see the apple there and then not there, because its nervous system perceives things at a slower rate than us. In the same way, there are other animals like dragonflies, I think, that perceive things much faster than we do. So they can see things that we don't. And this really, makes you think about the nature of reality and how things that, don't appear to be there for us are are a part of reality for other beings. So when you look at yourself, we have all these aspects to us. And you will start to see the multidimensionality, I think that's a word, of reality, of the universe. And while before this might have scared you, now you can really hold the space for that. When you start to see this as your experience, your reality, the multidimensionality of things, you start to attain a freedom in the way that you act, in the way that you choose to see the world. Your mind expands and you can access different energies, different levels of consciousness more easily. Basically, you step more in your power as the creator of your reality. So, going back to this idea of love, of nurturing self love, when holding love in your body raises the frequency of your body, it raises you out of the fight or flight response higher and higher. And it allows you, through your nervous system, to perceive the multidimensionality of reality. So you are going to be able to see that you are more than your 3D identity body. You will come in touch with that spark, with that light that is you, that is inside of you, that is eternal and infinite. So, theme number 3 is about healing collective masculine wounds. So, let's go back to this idea of patterns and looking at the patterns that we've inherited from our family, from our community. And let's look at how we hold masculinity. And I mean masculinity in the energy sense. I don't mean it in gender. So everyone has masculine and feminine energies, no matter what gender you are. So we are going to go through a collective healing of masculine wounds. This really brought me to think about the masculine and what it represents. And while I was reading this book by Deepak Chopra called How to Know God, I had an insight related to this. So in his book, Deepak Chopra talks about how we create God based on our level of consciousness. And he talks about 7 stages. Of course, these 7 stages are also associated with energy centers. So the first stage is God the protector, which is associated with the fight or flight response. And this God that we create, because God has different aspects, is God the protector that protects us from harm, keeps us safe. This God is judgmental and punishes us. This is a God based in fear. And this God really makes me think of my grandma, who I love her very much. But she always says things like, we must fear God. God, will reward or punish you. So personally, I associate this God as well with some religions. And anyway, so the way that we create a God based on our level of consciousness, I think is very similar to how we kind of create masculine and feminine energies. So I think that in many ways, masculinity is very much associated with the first stages of consciousness. So the second one had to do a lot with competition and power and winning. The first one is about survival. So in terms of masculine, when we think of masculine energy, we think of the masculine as like a stage one masculine would be someone that is vengeful, someone that is impulsive and gets angry, someone that protects and provides, someone that competes, that would be like a stage two, someone that is competitive and wins at all costs, right? So in terms of our patterns that we've inherited from our family, from mom or dad, it doesn't matter. Again, it's a thing of energy. It doesn't matter whether it's, you know, from a woman, a man, or someone of a different gender. We perceive masculinity at a stage one or stage two. And honestly, it's very hard to understand what a stage three, four, five, six, seven, a higher level consciousness masculinity even looks like or feels like. Honestly, it's hard for me even to say what it would feel like. But this is part of the collective wound of masculinity that we are going to go through this month, that we're going to be healing, and we are going to start to understand a higher level of consciousness masculinity and what that looks like, what that feels like. This means that we may encounter the old masculine that is rooted in more primal responses. We will come face to face with that. I think that another point is that the lower we go, the lower that we go into density and duality, the more split and clear masculine and feminine energies are. And the higher that we go in levels of consciousness and vibration, the more actually masculine and feminine energies come to are much it becomes much harder to distinguish them. They start to become one. And I talked a little bit about this with my friend who she studied masculine and feminine energies quite profoundly, much more than I have. And she said that masculine energy has to do, maybe I'm wrong, but so she said that masculine energy has to do a lot with freedom and feminine energy has a lot to do with love. But when you go to a higher level, love and freedom really feel the same and become the same thing. So I think this also explains how when you go higher and higher, it becomes it's a much more subtle thing to distinguish them one from the other. And I'd like to point out that there isn't a stage that is necessarily, you know, bad and one is good. They are all necessary. Like the masculine that provides and that protects is necessary for as long as we have a body, that energy is necessary. And so it's really about, you know, people stepping in to and understanding these higher consciousness levels of masculinity. So if the stage one masculine is about, you know, being quick to anger, having a quick response to protect, to it's about being more impulsive and it's about protecting. And really the reason why this is so important and it's coming up now is because the square came up as the symbol for this month. The square represents the structure of physical reality, but it's also about the structure of our society. It's about stability and structure. And the masculine has this role of holding the structure. And really, if we think about the structure of our society is really still at this stage one fear based level. And so, if we can embody and start to understand what the stage 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 masculine looks like, the structure of society, of the world, starts to reflect that. And I think really kind of masculine that we hold within ourselves creates the space and the structure for this other dimension, let's say the energetic spiritual dimension, to reveal itself. So again, when the structure is a stage one masculine, it holds space for a spiritual stage one creator. So the kind of creator that you are has a lot to do with the kind of masculine energy that you embody. And again, this has nothing to do with gender. This applies to everyone. So there will be an exploration of different types of masculine. And again, one is not necessarily better than the other, it's just different. They feel different. So the symbol that came up to this point, was the square. Up to this point, it was just a square, but the square started to kind of, all of its sides, right, started to kind of come together one on top of each other. So it felt like an integration. And what this brought me to now is theme number 4. It has to do with you realizing your potential as the creator of your reality. So as I saw these different parts of the square come together one on top of each other, it felt like an integration of sorts, a balance, a coming together. So whereas theme number 2 was about you asking the question of who am I and seeing this bigger part of you, now it's about seeing the creative spark that lies within that. So you will see beyond the physical material world, but you will also connect to the creative spark that lies inside of you, and you will see it inside every living thing that exists. You will see it in grass, you will see it in a tree, you will see it in a dog, you will see it in a ladybug, you will see it in the cells inside your finger, the cells inside your organs. Every cell independently has that creative spark. God, the creator, is inside every living thing. And you really tapping into this, tapping into your creative spark, is what really enables you to live out your, I don't know what word to use here, your full potential, to live out who you truly are. This is also where an integration between the physical you and the spiritual you comes together, and within you find that creative spark. So now we get another symbol, which I thought was very cool. It was a spinning top. I don't know if you know them, but like I used to play with them as a kid. It's like a thing that you spin around and it starts spinning. So I see the spinning top that has like a distinct color in the center with another color. So it was yellow in the center and purple on the outside, and it was spinning. And I was like, what is this? So now we have another symbol. We have the spinning top, but really, when you look at the spinning top from the top, it looks like the symbol of the sun, which is also, I think, the symbol of the creator. It's a dot with a circle around it. So that's what it looks like if you look at it from above, which is very, very cool. Because what happens now that you become aware of the creative spark inside of you, now you become, so this is the fifth theme. So the Alchemist is about how you use this creative spark. So now you know that you are the creator of your reality. You feel it, you embody it. And the Alchemist is about really kind of using this creative spark to do things. So, speaking of how I see the colors, they're always going to, sometimes they're going to mean the same thing, but at other times they will mean different things. So colors really are just different aspects of the same thing. Okay. So let's talk a bit about this. So I saw the center as being yellow, and in this instance, it represents consciousness. And it represents you as kind of stepping into this creative power and using your creative power. And the purple that I saw around is, in a sense, your creation, but it's also an extension of you. So when you imagine, like, actually, I do have a spinning top here. Okay, so this was a spinning top that I got from the Kinder Egg. So it's not spinning right now, okay? So these are like distinct parts. But if I start spinning it, they start to look like there's something, physical that looks like a circle. So you can distinguish the different parts of this, right? The different petals. So you create through consciousness. When your creation starts to vibrate and move at a certain frequency, it starts to appear as something real in the physical dimension to us. And let's talk about the center, your consciousness. So your consciousness is who you are being. In order to change the outside, you have to change the inside, right? So to change the outside, you have to change the inside, the consciousness. And so that when you spin, the outside starts to look different based on what is inside. And you see the symbol of the spinning top in everything, in nature, in atoms, in galaxies, in our solar system, in our bodies, in everything in nature. So there is this creative spark. Everything is alive. So this is where all the themes of today's energy update come together. We talked about self-love, and I want to bring it up again because it's very important. Self-love will help you see through the patterns that are going to come up a lot this month from all the different areas of your life, your career, your love life, everything is going to come up. And through this self-love, you can see through these patterns. Through the self-love, you can soften up how you approach things, and you can start to become the creator, the alchemist, and you can start to create change and transformation. You can start to turn lead into gold. I really believe that this month is about an alignment with our true selves. It's about a new beginning. And it is, as I said, a truly beautiful thing. But also be very kind to yourself. Offer yourself love. Because it is not always easy. You are the creator of your reality. And you've got this. So theme number 6, as I said, is not really an independent theme on its own. It's a practical exercise. And I think it's very related to everything we talked about because it's about self-love, which really integrates everything. What I saw was a pool of pink energy, and I was told that I should, do whatever feels right, like wash my hands in it, or wash my feet in it, or bathe in it, or drink from it. But really, it's about really feeling that energy. And for you, you can make the energy be whatever color self-love is for you. It doesn't have to be pink. Also, the fact that it was in a pool, which looked like a square, rectangular, that seemed to be important, but you can play around with it and see how that feels for you. Perhaps the fact that it was a square is important because it has to do with really bringing the self-love into the physical dimension, making it be a reality. But really, you can take this and make it your own and apply it however it feels right for you. I hope you enjoyed this energy update. Please like and subscribe if you did. And I hope to see you around. Have a wonderful, wonderful month.